Hallöchen, ihr Ravioli-Sniffer und
All of
herzlich
his
willkommen.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ja, zu einer tollen neuen Folge von Stanley Parable, die Ultra-Lachs Edition. Ja. Oh, Input Received, das sind wir schon bei 2. Ich habe einmal leider drauf vergessen, also, ja. What the fuck?
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
What? Was passiert jetzt? Was zur Hölle?
Hello, and thank you for playing The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Ui.
As you may know, The Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or oh, there we go.
Oh.
All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Do it. Wand?
I
Sehr
have to
schön.
say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Los.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Man kann aber nicht springen. Man kann springen. Man kann nicht springen. Oh, das ist ein krasser Content. Sie haben es nur hier nicht gesperrt. Los. Was passiert, wenn es aufgebraucht ist? Das ist ja eine richtige 4K-Textur. Bist du deppert. Okay. Der Jump Cycle. Das war aber bist du deppert. Das ist mindestens ein halbes Jahr
Is
Entwicklungszeit.
that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Ja.
Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley,
Der
I
ist
have
schneller.
to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive.
Ja.
It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Würde ich schon
If
so
this is
sagen.
new content,
Würde ich das auch
then I
so
could just
sagen.
read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there.
Ooh.
Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content.
Okay, dann der
wait.
2. Verstehe.
There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Ein Weg, der ausschaut, als ob er einstürzen wird.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley?
Das ist geil.
This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Das schaut aber etwas anders aus. Das schaut anders aus. Ich würde sagen, das gehört noch zum vorherigen dazu.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Was zur Hölle? Was passiert?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Ui.
Just our little secret. Take a look.
Ui. Ja, das läuft in 60 FPS sehr flüssig, bist du deppert.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Wow.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Wow. Wow. Es gab eine Collectors Edition? Okay. Angeber. Wow. Wow. Der Original Remake. Ja, eigentlich schon. Nämlich ursprünglich war das ein Half-Life-Mod. Und danach kam ja das Spiel raus. Okay. Alpha-Test. Ja, ist genau. Wow. Wow. Können wir das spielen? Nicht? Frech. Don't play for 5 years. Das ist aber angeblich. Oh. Du, das läuft aber nicht so 100% flüssig. Ich meine, es geht, aber es stuttert manchmal ein bisschen. Ui. Oh, das waren wir. Ah. Okay. Little Stanley. And the kleine Stanley. Okay.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable.
Ui.
Like the stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ui. Wo bin ich jetzt? Portal! Ui. Ah, stimmt, da gab es dieses komische. Glaube ich. Ja. Oh. Ja, 17 FPS. Den Minecraft-Abschnitt, das habe ich gemacht. Ursprünglich war das nämlich statt Rocket League Minecraft. Das hatte ich so in Erinnerung. Ja. Altes Menü, die Türen. Oh, die Buttons. Ui, die muss man sicher aufheben. Ui, Game Design, wichtig. Figuren. Das Skript. Der Narrator. Ich möchte aber noch nicht drüber. Was ist denn da unten? What is this? Know in your city. Okay. Okay. Verstehe. Toll, super toll. Der Original Remake. Ja. Ui, Apple, Schleichwerbung. Ein Auto. Schönes Auto, ja. Ui. Collectors Edition, verstehe. Ein Happy Button. Eine Nummer. Schön.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Ui. Die Serious Room. Da gehöre ich hin. Frech. Entschuldigen, ich komme da nicht hin. Jetzt müssen wir, glaube ich, unten rumgehen, weil da abgesperrt ist.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Steam reviews.
Oh, God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Steam reviews.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Das sind noch sehr viele Reviews. Es ist aber nicht sehr umweltfreundlich, die alle auszudrucken. Du, ich glaube, die gibt es auch digital. Okay. Ui. Oh, schade, die kann man nicht lesen. Oh, er hat die schlechten Reviews verstecken wollen. Oh, da kommt noch eins. Pass auf.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Ui, da ist noch eins.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Ui.
A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Ui. Nur ein Skip-Button? Okay. Ein Skip-Button.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue. And it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years. Until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes.
Interessant.
It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room.
Das ist aber schade.
Oh, Stanley, you're back.
Wie lange
erst? Back.
Eine Woche?
Oh, my goodness, I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all the time. Just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps. Yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time, that if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world.
Ich drück gleich auf den Knopf, wenn du nicht deine Pappen gleich hältst.
You can see what this means to me. I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a terrible dread it strokes in my heart to think of it. To think of returning to such coldness.
Halt die Klappe, da muss ich nicht diesen Knopf drücken.
Let us sit in silence together here for just a moment. Let us anticipate it. Let us welcome it. Let us not run from it.
Toll. Ja. Und wie lange? Oder ist es unendlich stille, bis ich den Knopf drücke? Das will ich für wahrscheinlicher. Bulli, machst du endlich... jetzt haben wir Stoff. Fundi.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity, for what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome. It was divorced entirely from the question of free will.
Ist es tot? Die Uhr steht. Ich glaube, er ist tot. Ich würde sagen, das ist so Rick and Morty mäßig. Los, in die Zukunft. Feueralarm. Du, das ist etwas laut für mein Trommelfell. Alter. Wie lange halten die Batterien in den Brandmelder? Ich tippe auf 2 Jahre.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. No. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other?
Jetzt ist er wieder still. Die Uhr steht. Ja. Wir haben halt keine Anhaltspunkte, wie oft wir jetzt gereist sind, quasi. Ja doch, das Teil ist nicht mehr laut. Das läuft nicht mehr.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Oh, er wurde verrückt.
The end is never the end, 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 is never
music,
is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is
wieder schon. Oh, das war's. Das Dach wird undicht. Wo ist das Rohr? Ah, das Rohr wird undicht. Heißt, beim nächsten Mal läuft es aus. Wir ertrinken dann, weil das mit Wasser voll läuft. Das wird doch cool. Ach du Kacke. Ja, überhaupt nicht verwüstet. Was zur Hölle? Das ist sehr Portal-mäßig. Gefällt mir. Normal. Jetzt ist es Portal-mäßig. Oh ja. Ui. Aber es ist ja Unreal Engine, nicht mehr Source Engine, oder? Egal. Nehmt die Leiter. Jetzt geht er raus. Na, halt nicht. Wow. Ja, schaut schon schön aus. Ui, sogar ein Bäumchen. Schick. Ui, es breitet sich wieder aus. Ein bisschen pflanzig. Was passiert dann als nächstes? Warum ist es jetzt schlimmer geworden? Warum ist da Asche? Ah, jo. Wieder schon. Das ist nicht besser. Spooky, scary skeletons. Kommt her. Okay. Alter. Der Raum fällt runter. Lädt sich der Knopf noch auf? Ja, der ist aufgeladen. Ich könnte ihn drücken. Ich könnte mal auch schon, wo ich da rausgehen kann. Okay. Nur mit der Raum. Ja. Was zur Hölle? Heftig. Ah, ich möchte jetzt nicht weggehen und dann sterben oder sowas. Wir behalten den Raum mal im Auge. Das war das, was ich gemeint habe. Und RIP. Na gut. Tschüss.